Alright, and welcome back to my Zelda 2 Adventure of Link Magic and Life at level 1 guided walkthrough. We're getting close to the end. Next episode will be the finale. But first we need to make it through the hidden palace. And I really started to notice being at level 1. Even with the extra life I got from the previous palace, it was quite a struggle to finish this palace. In fact, with magic at level 1, you need to actually die on purpose to get to the boss, since there is no other way to refill your magic bar. Fortunately, you don't have to do this palace in one go, so like usual, we are first going to go for the item. So after going down, you have those annoying wizards and then a blue guy throwing maces. Even though we faced many of those before, this one has a habit of jumping when you try to jump on him to do a down thrust. So it's best to wait for him to jump first. Right after that is a blue knight, and unfortunately the design is a bit cruel here because you can't jump over him. If you try, he moves backwards where the roof is too low to jump over him. But speaking of jumping, after you beat him you can use the jump spell to get to a statue with a red potion hidden inside it. Moreover, the jump spell also helps you out getting over that wide gap in the first place. It does suck though that it's unlikely that you can start with full life, because you first need to go past those fence sections and across a bridge before you even get to the palace. Because there is no town where you can heal close to the palace. This is where the game no longer fucks around, and I really started to notice being at level 1. Even with the extra life I got from the previous palace, it was quite a struggle to finish this palace. The next blue knight can be jumped over. Just find an opportunity to open the door and then do a down thrust. After that he cannot hit you anymore. By the way, kind of weird that they even included locked doors at this point, because with the magic key you cannot even complete this palace. You would expect it to be an optional item to give you an advantage, but it's a necessary item. However, if that's the case, why not just put a locked door at the beginning and simply no longer include locked doors after that? Because they no longer serve any purpose, as far as I can see. Well, perhaps to annoy you. So here I chose not to break any of the blocks, because the skull is in the way and you don't have to do it in the first place if you do a running jump. However, after that is one of those gaps that can only be crossed by jumping at the last possible moment. We have encountered that same design before, but this time I didn't make it. Even though I couldn't be much closer to the edge before I jumped. You basically have to be pixel perfect. Okay, this room is rather annoying because of the flying eyeball and the teleporting wizards. But since you need the jump spell to clear a hidden gap at the end of the room, you might as well use it to take the flying eyeball out first. And the hidden gap is 2 tiles behind the third statue. You are pretty fucked if you fall down. Over here we suddenly have an encounter with the boss of the third palace again. In fact, it's exactly the same. And there is another place in this palace where you again have to redo this fight. I suppose I should have used the shield spell here, because I think that would have allowed me to survive a single hit. And I had just enough magic left to use it. Well, even though I started with 4 lives, I had to use a continue after getting the cross anyway. Just to emphasize again, at level 1 you really start dying like a motherfucker at this point in the game. Don't expect to do everything the first try. Alright, major jump cut here. Let's start the palace over again, but at least we keep the cross after getting a game over. So now when we get to the room where we previously used the jump spell to reach that statue with the hidden potion, we are going to fall down this time instead of going to the right. The route is rather simple: fall down twice, go all the way to the right, fall down once again, use the fairy spell, and then further to the right we will encounter the boss of this palace. Fortunately the boss is easy, but the sections before that are not. Alright, first we encounter a blue knight that can be jumped over with the down thrust. However, in the next room you have to be careful when using the down thrust, because both the horse heads and the enemies on the platforms can bounce you right into the lava if you do it when running at full speed. So instead you want to either jump straight up or do a walking jump, so that when you bounce it's either only slightly to the right or even straight back down. In this room there are teleporting wizards, so their attacks need to be jumped over. However, there's also a red knight, so make sure to take things slowly so that you don't get hit by a wizard when doing a jumping attack against the knight, or vice versa, where the knight hits you when you try to jump over the wizard's attack. Best way I've found is to wait for the wizard to teleport behind you and then run to the right. Okay, now things get fucked up. You need the fairy spell here to traverse this chasm, but you need to simultaneously avoid the skulls, because if you get hit by a skull, it drains your magic meter. And you absolutely need to be able to use the jump spell later on to get the extra life at the very far right. However, even if you make it there, chances are that you will die before getting the extra life. And to add insult to injury, you need to die anyway, because there are no more potions to refill your magic bar, and you need to use the fairy spell again to reach the boss. So here is where magic at level 1 is a real pain in the ass. Okay, here we have another mini boss fight, but this time you cannot use the shield spell. You need all 3 blocks of remaining magic for the jump spell in the next corridor. So here use the jump spell and then there is an extra life to the right. Unfortunately there is a blue knight and 2 skulls in your way. So, well, good fucking luck trying to get the extra life. So I hope you managed to get here with at least 1 life remaining. Because as I said before, there is no other way to refill your magic bar. So after you either died intentionally or unintentionally, like me, you need to fall down the hole and then immediately use the fairy spell during your fall to be able to fly to the right. And there you will find the boss of this palace. Fortunately, Barba is a very easy boss. Do use the shield spell to be sure, but he can be quite easily killed without taking damage. And especially if you were lucky like me and you guessed twice correctly where he would spawn. But regardless, you are safe on the left side of the left platform if he's on the right, and the same in reverse on the right side. So just start attacking anywhere, and if you're lucky you will hit him when he emerges. Then get to either the left or right platform, whatever is opposite of him, and then he cannot hit you anymore. Also, if you are really quick, you can jump towards him right after he fires and attack right before he submerges again. But you have to be really quick. In the end, the best way is just to be patient. Then it's unlikely that you will even take a single hit. Okay then, only the final palace remains. But now we have the cross, we first need to get the final spell in the game. The Thunder spell, which is required to beat the Thunderbird. It's not an optional spell. However, the bridge right before the town is a bit more annoying than the previous bridges. It's best to do a short jump over the first gap, otherwise you will jump right into a skullfish, which can knock you into the water. And after that, it's best to bounce on the skullfish instead of the lizard. Otherwise, again, you might bounce right into a skullfish. So this is the only town that has enemies and no opportunities to heal. But you only need to go into the first house for the Thunder spell. So that's it for this episode. Next episode, the Great Palace. The finale of my Zelda 2 level 1 playthrough. See you then.